Few criminals in American history have been more celebrated, more glamorized than these two, Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow. In the early 30s, their crime spree through a depression-racked country became the stuff of folk legend and Hollywood myth. We're in Texas, where Bonnie and Clyde history is everywhere, but not always visible, like this bank the gang robbed in 1934. Cops in Texas, Louisiana, and the FBI hunted them for more than a year. And now we are tailing them through time to do a little myth-busting about America's most popular bank robbers. Four Texans are meeting me at this empty 1920 storefront on Swiss Circle in East Dallas, where we will meet a very young Bonnie Parker. Morning, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Now, we have this really cool group assembled here, because everyone has some relationship to the law. Former Marshal?
Yes, sir. U.S. Marshal, 23 years. A lot of manpower went into finding Bonnie and Clyde, and I'd like to learn how many banks they robbed, what kind of weapons they used.
So you have an ancestor who chased them?
Correct.
That's incredible.
His name is Charlie Moss, a sheriff that was part of the posse that took down Bonnie and Clyde.
It's so cool to be able to be a part of this is because you get to find out a little bit more about what my great-great-grandfather was a part of.
What's your...
Police officer.
Police officer? Wow.
Every day I work in catching criminals, so it's interesting to me on how they got away with it for so long.
You work for the court system?
Yes, I'm a court reporter. The kinds of things I'd most like to learn about Bonnie and Clyde are where they stopped along the way in Texas, what kind of robberies they did, and why they did it.
This is Hargrave's Cafe, and guess what?
You have the key.
I got the keys.
All right,
No
good
one else
man.
gets to do this.
Hargrave's Cafe.
I like what they've done with the place.
Before there was a Bonnie and Clyde, there was a hardworking, impressionable 17-year-old Bonnie Parker, taking lunch orders from busy day workers at this trolley stop cafe. Our young Bonnie Parker is here carrying lunch and corned beef hash out to people. I think Hargrave's Cafe represents a more innocent time in Bonnie Parker's life. There's really nothing to sort of indicate that she had crime in her heart.
A lot of people think that why am I going to work hard every single day and make a couple dollars when I could go out and do something a little wrong, get money a little quicker. Some ching-ching.
Mia, you sound like you've had some experience with that kind of person as a police officer.
Well, we could have a perfect organized crime group right here.
I think so too.
Yeah, maybe.
We need a time-traveling machine.
Oh, awesome.
It's no DeLorean, but it'll do the job. An early 1930s Ford V8, a car Clyde loved for its speed. Everybody comfortable back there?
Oh, yeah.
All right, here we go.
Our time-traveling machine.
Hi, lady. Without wrecking this beauty, I just need to get us back to West Dallas. In the 20s and 30s, this was a slum where Clyde Barrow came of age. The Barrow family lived in a tent city under the Oak Cliff Viaduct. Eventually, the family would move up to this corner of Borger Street and Singleton Boulevard. All right, we're here.
All right.
Anyone know what this place sort of resembles?
A house.
It's a house.
It's a house.
Gas station?
It's an old gas station. Clyde's father, Henry, owned this filling station from 1931 to 1940. The family lived here in cramped quarters with no indoor plumbing. Clyde, at that point, was involved in some petty crime, and he was now sort of resigned to picking up money through criminal acts. Bonnie met Clyde at a mutual friend's house in 1930. Some say the two were instantly smitten with one another. But Clyde's life of petty crime would send him to jail again and again, and he emerged a ruthless, bitter criminal.
Well, how long did this go on? Was it a couple of years?
Well, from 31 to 34.
Oh, okay.
All right, time to move on.
Okay, let's go.
I have one criticism for Mr. Ford. More legroom, just saying. Bonnie and Clyde didn't operate alone. The Barrow Gang, a loose-knit group of 5, including Clyde's brother, quickly made headlines with a series of bold robberies and shootouts with police. Their crime spree would stretch across 11 states and become a diversion for a depression-weary nation. No turn signal. Hi, I'm going over there. They preferred to rob small stores and gas stations. Their targets were often haphazard and lacked planning. As in 1932, when the Barrow Gang pulled into the tiny town of Maybank, Texas, about 50 miles outside Dallas. Bonnie, Clyde, an associate of theirs in the gang named Ralph Foltz comes with the intention of stealing some guns and some ammunition from Eubanks hardware store. But there's a bit of a surprise for them. Anybody have an idea what that might have been?
Did someone get murdered and did someone get hurt?
To find out, we're going to go to the alley behind what was Eubanks hardware. Instead of the hardware store, they mistakenly enter an adjacent store and are spotted by a police officer. The gang attempts an escape through the back alley. It was an exchange of gunfire. They escape in a car. The car gets stuck in the mud.
Really?
And then it becomes an escape by mule.
So mule waiting.
Clyde gets away. Foltz is wounded, and Bonnie's luck runs out.
Did her mule get stuck in the mud, or?
Bonnie is captured, and she's thrown into the calaboose. Anyone heard of a calaboose before?
I have.
You have?
My daddy used to tell me that he's going to have me locked up in the calaboose.
Calaboose. What is a calaboose?
To jail.
To jail. Let's go inside and check out the surroundings that Bonnie endured. Welcome to the lap of luxury. There's something also kind of characteristic of these calabooses in terms of its exposure to the public.
It's out here by the park.
The townsfolk would come up to the calaboose and look in at her. And she would show her admiration by spitting at them. Bonnie was released after serving 2 months in jail. She would then rejoin Clyde in Dallas, and their reunion would quickly turn deadly. This is the Lily McBride house. Lily McBride was the sister of a guy that was in the gang. On the night of January 6, 1933, the Barrow Gang stops by the house to see Lily. Unaware, a sheriff's deputy is waiting on the property. When Bonnie and Clyde come here, Lily McBride's sister opens the door. She screams, "Don't shoot," and that's when Clyde starts shooting. And there is a sheriff's deputy around the back of the house. The deputy in the back hears the shot. He comes around here. There, boom, is Clyde, and he gets off a shot, and the deputy dies here on the front porch, slumped over.
Wow.
Point blank, yeah.
In all, they would kill 13 people, 9 of them police officers. The body count and the robberies were mounting. After the shooting at the McBride house, the gang headed 16 miles to Lancaster, Texas for yet another score. As you can see, the foundation of something still visible. What do you think was here? As you can see, the foundation of something still visible. What do you think was here?
Oh, how about a bank?
A
Bank. Yeah.
How did you know that?
Just call it a wild hunch.
This was R.P. Henry and Sons Bank in Lancaster, Texas. Clyde comes in here and he keeps an eye on the bank officials and the customers who are in here. One of the other associates starts going into the vault and putting all the cash into a bag, and they make a clean getaway. But just for a little time frame, that was February of 1934, and then the ambush, which your great-great-grandfather was involved in, took place in May. On May 23, 1934, Bonnie and Clyde would run head-on into Texas Ranger Frank Hamer, called one of the most fearless men in the West. Having tracked them for months, Hamer leads a team to ambush Bonnie and Clyde in Bienville, Louisiana. Some 50 bullets would bring an end to Bonnie and Clyde instantly. Bonnie and Clyde meet their very bloody, awful end. What do you know about that moment?
I mean, I'm sure it was pretty gruesome.
Pretty gruesome.
I mean, it was an ambush. I mean,
Yeah.
they had no chance.
I've seen the car. It was just riddled with bullets all over the place. The front, the back. I mean, all the windows were shot out.
It was a very violent
Oh, yeah.
death. But the legend of these two outlaws was born and glamorized. Photos of the two, considered racy for the times, would cement them as two of the most famous celebrity criminals of the modern era. Give me your best gangster. Beautiful. Oh, that's good. Remember, they were trying to be real sexy and bad.